Go ahead.
We're good? Okay. Thank you for being here. My name is Tony Spurlock. I'm the Sheriff of Douglas County, and I want to give you an update on the accident that took the life of two individuals on the early morning hours on February 6th. Excuse me. So on that morning, officers spotted two vehicles in the Castle Pines area, and the information that the officer was able to visually obtain was two vehicles that were blacked out. One of the cars, or another car in a parking lot or in a driveway area, had its dome light on, and that keyed up the officer to pay attention to these other two cars that were moving. We've had a number of car prowls and thefts in the Castle Pines and the southern western part of Highlands Ranch, where individuals have been either stealing cars or breaking into cars and stealing items out of the car. So that officer started to follow those two cars. One of the cars she could definitely identify was a silver-colored Jeep, like a Grand Cherokee type, and that was a car that she started to follow. They left Castle Pines down Legay to Happy Canyon, and then northbound on Santa Fe to north on Santa Fe. That officer initiated a traffic stop on the Jeep Grand Cherokee, somewhere between Happy Canyon and Daniels Park. From her dash cam, it appears that that car was trying to, or was going to pull over and put on its brake lights and then sped off. At that point, the officer called out that the vehicle was leaving and not pulling over, and from that point, really up until you get to Ron King Road, which is the entrance to the police academy. The vehicle was brake checking our officer, speeding, slowing down, and really driving erratically and dangerously. So from there, the officers continued to call out and started to call for some backup from our northern districts. And really the driver of that Jeep Grand Cherokee, because that's a vehicle that this officer could see, was driving dangerously, erratically, and really putting that person's life in danger and anyone who might be coming on the roadway. And so the decision was to continue to pursue that vehicle and try to get that vehicle stopped. We had a number of officers that were securing intersections and setting up stop sticks from basically Ron King north. This vehicle continued to speed and avoided those stop sticks in a number of locations, up to Titan Road. At that location, you can see on the car cam that the officer was following. You can see the suspect vehicle actually slowing down, putting on the brakes, and moving into the off-ramp lane, and then erratically moved right back into Santa Fe and continued on. So again, the pursuit continued on with the silver Jeep Grand Cherokee. I think it's important to know at this point that that vehicle continued to brake check our officer, and as we move forward. This is where I think it's important to know. The black Mitsubishi, which we later identified at the crash site, was several miles in front of the officer speeding. Two of our officers see that vehicle while they're looking for and preparing to set up for this Jeep Grand Cherokee. And one of the officers sees the vehicle somewhere around Highlands Ranch Parkway or Midway, in that area, and sees the vehicle speeding in the north or in the southbound lanes going northbound. And that officer then queues up on that car. 2 miles back, the initial pursuit is still going on and moving northbound. So really at this point right now, we see a black Mitsubishi that is speeding at a high rate, or driving at a high rate of speed going northbound in the southbound lanes. That vehicle continues on north and does again change lanes into the southbound lane going northbound at a high rate of speed on the other side of the Jersey barrier at basically the overpass for the train tracks and right at Blakeland. an officer sitting there waiting for the Jeep Grand Cherokee sees the black Mitsubishi speed by him at a high rate of speed in the wrong lane, and less than a couple hundred yards is construction at C-47, and you can see the cones, you can see the reflections of the cones. That officer then immediately initiates. From that point on, we really do not see that black Mitsubishi because it's going at such a high rate of speed that we can't even get close enough to catch up to it. And it moves back over into the north lane. We have two other officers that are there that sees them, and that car continues on. The pursuit of the Jeep Grand Cherokee is still ongoing, and it's a couple miles behind this black Mitsubishi. You will see on the video that we're going to share with you that the black Mitsubishi is driving extremely erratic at a high rate of speed in the wrong lane, and essentially gets almost out of view of the deputy that picks it up at Blakeland and Santa Fe. You will see on the video that you can barely see the red, the yellow, and the green lights. You will see the green light of the stoplight at Mineral and Santa Fe. You will also see that that light turns, or that light is red, I'm sorry. You'll see the red light on it. You will see the brake lights in the distance. And those brake lights are the black Mitsubishi, and our car is a long ways behind it, trying to catch up. You will see that that Mitsubishi applies its brakes ever so slightly, and then that car disappears because of the terrain. You will see the green light of that intersection going north come on. At the time of the green light, the crash has already occurred. Our officer doesn't see this yet. As he comes up on it, you will see the crash of the car. We were only in the pursuit of the black Mitsubishi probably 2 minutes total time where our deputies were engaging that vehicle. The pursuit of the Jeep continued and on, but it terminated at the crash site. You will hear, I'm sorry, you won't hear that because we don't have that audio available to you, but our officers essentially discontinue the pursuit of the Grand Cherokee at the crash site. Those officers turn around and come back to the crash site and assist the other two in rendering aid to the three injured parties at the crash site. And the Jeep Grand Cherokee continues on. That vehicle is later found by the Littleton Police Department in a shopping area with a blown out tire. I don't know which one. And our detectives right now are working with the evidence found from that vehicle to attempt to apprehend the driver of that car. The Littleton Police Department is assisting us in this investigation, and they are conducting the crash site investigation. They are assisting us and helping us determine what happened at that crash site, because none of our officers were there to actually see that because we were too far behind that car to be able to see it. Currently, we have the female driver of that black Mitsubishi in custody at a local hospital. Her name is Deanna Mae Bixby. She was born in '98, and she is in custody on several active warrants that were on the computer for her arrest at the time that we took her into custody at the hospital. We are not releasing any more information about her. We will release a photograph of her. It is not a booking photo, I don't believe. It's a photo that we acquired, and we have the authority to release that photo of her. The driver of the Jeep is still at large, and again, as I said, we are actively working towards finding that. The examination of the crime scene is still ongoing, but I can tell you that we did find a pistol in the Mitsubishi that was driven by Miss Bixby. I cannot tell you if she had it on her person or if it was in her duffel bag or her purse or where else, because obviously the crash was so violent that I don't know. I can tell you that we know that that vehicle was stolen 2 days earlier out of Adams County, and the Jeep Grand Cherokee had been stolen probably just moments before our deputy saw it in Castle Pines. We're going to show you the video right now. This is just a small portion of our video that our detectives are still reviewing. This is a view of the black Mitsubishi at 2 different locations, and then I'll share a little bit more about what occurred. That's a black Mitsubishi at Highlands Ranch Parkway in Santa Fe. You see it's in the wrong side of the road, wrong lane. It crosses over. It's about ready to approach the railroad tracks, and it changes lanes. We have a deputy here setting up stop sticks, and we think that's why that car went to the other side. Here's the officer at Blakeland in Santa Fe. As you can see, he's sitting here waiting. He was actually stationed there ready to receive that Grand Cherokee that we were pursuing. He's in the middle median there. There's a turn lane. And there goes the Mitsubishi. It is now again southbound, or northbound and southbound lanes in a construction zone. You see the construction zone. They're doing work on the ramps at C-470 and County Line in Santa Fe. It's still in the wrong side of the lane. You can see up to the left side of the screen there in that lane, you see its tail lights. Still on the wrong side. You see an oncoming car here. Actually brakes there a couple times, you see. You can see the green light. You see the red change to green, and the crash has already occurred. Our deputy comes up on it here. And stops to render aid. At that point, about maybe a minute and 15 seconds, or a little bit longer, the Jeep Grand Cherokee goes through that intersection again, and the officers that were pursuing that vehicle discontinue and render aid to the victims in this crash. Here is just a quick overview of where it started and where we had we see the Jeep Grand Cherokee at Daniels Park. We know that the Mitsubishi is quite a ways ahead of it because the officer knew it was there, but it's gone. It's going at a much faster speed. Stop sticks are put there at Ron King. They're again put out a little bit right at the Titan Road. We have our first officer that sees the Mitsubishi at Highlands Ranch Parkway. That's the first officer that actually sees the side of that car that's assisting in the pursuit of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And from there, it takes about a minute and a half or less until it gets to Blakeland. At that entire time, it's in the wrong lane, going the wrong direction. We have an officer that is attempting to pursue it. 2 other sets of stop sticks are deployed, but it was on the other side of the roadway. So they were not of any value to us. And then you saw the video there at County Line and Blakeland, Santa Fe, where the officer tried to engage that black Mitsubishi, but was never able to get even remotely close enough to even get from our car cam or that officer any further description than what it came by at a very high rate of speed. We will have a photograph of the suspect that we have in custody. We'll share this information with you, but I just want to show you that we do have this photograph that is available to you.
What's your last name again?
Bixby. It is spelled, sorry, B-I-X-B-Y. Deanna Mae, 11/22 of 98. As I said, she's in custody right now on the warrants that she had for her arrest. We have not formally charged her with the possession of a stolen vehicle, and obviously the crash that caused the death of 2 individuals. I can tell you that we have identified, the Arapahoe County coroner has identified the 2 victims in that crash, but they are not prepared yet to release that information, as they are still notifying next of kin and family members. We are assisting in that notification with the Arapahoe County Coroner's Office. I'll take a few questions now, so I'll go around there. Jim?
2 questions. Do you believe that Jeep and the Mitsubishi were involved with each other, or did this black car just think you were chasing them? I mean, obviously this was a stolen car.
We are believing, in regards to the crimes, that the first officer that saw them, that the black Mitsubishi and the Jeep were together. We can tell you that we've had a number of these investigations where we know that they bring another stolen car from the north part of the Denver metro area, bring people down, they disperse, they steal other cars and drive away. We do know that the black Mitsubishi was stolen on the 4th, and so evidentiary from this point right now, we believe that the 2 of them were together. The only time that they were seen together was in Castle Pines, when that officer noticed 2 suspicious vehicles and a dome light and a Mercedes-Benz on, and someone had obviously carprelled that vehicle, because we later know that from our evidence.
And then, as far as the stop sticks, when the accident happened, the driver wasn't avoiding stop sticks at that point because that was a county line, or I know you don't know exactly, right, because your officer went up there, but what led up to that in terms of these were just innocent people? Correct?
The last place stop sticks were deployed were just under the railroad track bridge, just south of Blakeland on Santa Fe on the northbound side. And we know that she wasn't on that because she was on the other side of the barrier going north on the southbound. So there were no other stop sticks put forward after that. We do not know at this point what the cause of the accident was. We do know that the black Mitsubishi hit the victim's car. And at this point, the Littleton and our detectives are working to reconstruct that car crash.
Sheriff, do you stand behind the deputy's decision to pursue the vehicle?
I do.
At any point, just reviewing some of the scanner traffic, it sounded like the driver of the Mitsubishi was not there initially. Was there any search for the suspect that was eventually arrested? Was she in the car when you guys?
She was in the car in the crash. She was trapped in the vehicle due to the crash.
Okay.
This has got to be very difficult for you and your department to see such a tragic conclusion. Will you review your chase policy, and what exactly is the policy in relation to what took place here?
We do. There are 3 active investigations going on right now. We have a criminal investigation. We are assisting the Littleton Police Department on the actual causation of the crash, and then we are having an administrative review, as we always do, of our policy and the actions of the deputies. We do have a policy. We just reviewed that policy in November. We just provided training to the officers in regards to pursuit policy, and I believe that our policy is sound. The officers followed the policy. The officers were doing exactly what our policy allows them to do, and there was obviously enough radio traffic for the supervisor to determine that the policy was still within play.
There's other departments that specifically say not to chase after a stolen vehicle or someone driving erratically out of safety for other people. Why does Douglas County's policy allow that?
Well, I'm the sheriff of Douglas County. I'm very close to my community, and the community supports the decisions of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office in large part. This policy has been in place since I became the sheriff over 5 years ago, and it is the decision of my office, my administration, that this is a good policy, it's a sound policy, and it's a policy that, in most part, helps us apprehend the criminals that are violating the citizens of Douglas County.
How would you personally describe this incident?
This is a tragedy. This is a tragedy on a number of cases. We have individuals that come to this county to steal from the people of Douglas County and then put other people's lives in danger, to include my deputies, speeding away recklessly, armed, and then collide with another car that's on the roadway. And again, I don't know the causation of that. We do know that there was a collision, and we do know that the Mitsubishi collided with another car, and 2 people were killed because of that. The driver of the car, the suspect, Ms. Bixby, was seriously injured as well. All of that is a tragedy. All of that could have been avoided if the individual that was driving the Mitsubishi that we have in custody and the individual that was driving the stolen vehicle out of Castle Pines in the Jeep had not done those crimes.
Do you believe this chase caused the accident, or the chase was trying to prevent the accident that ultimately ended up happening because this driver was driving the way they were?
I do not believe the chase caused the accident at all, because we weren't chasing that Mitsubishi. We couldn't even get close to see what kind of car it was, other than when it went by our deputy. We were pursuing and chasing the Jeep Grand Cherokee. As we talked about before, that black Mitsubishi obviously was related to some degree to that Jeep Grand Cherokee, and that Mitsubishi and the driver of that Mitsubishi caused that crash.
Do you have any info on the other driver, the other suspect you're looking for, male, female, or description?
We don't. We have. We are actively looking at a number of suspects and a number of leads that might lead us to the individual who's driving that. At this point, right now, I couldn't tell you if it was a male or a female.
How big of a problem is this car theft in Castle Pines that you've seen?
Well, it's a significant problem in Douglas County, greater Douglas County. It's a significant problem in the metropolitan area as well. There are a number of task forces that focus just their job on apprehending folks that are stealing cars. And this happens regularly here in Douglas County, unfortunately. Cars are stolen for, in a variety of different locations in Douglas County. Generally, it's the northern portion, north of Castle Rock, where the cars are stolen, and it is an issue. We have arrested a number of people over the last year doing this very same thing.
Do you know roughly how far behind the deputy was behind the Mitsubishi at any given point, or
From what we can tell on his dash cam, that he was several hundred yards, just because of the high definition of the dash cam and where you could see markers on the road and where you could see minerals, just the lights, several hundred yards. And we will have a better idea once they start doing measurements and such. But so far behind that you couldn't even see the car, but just by the tail lights.
So how do you differentiate? So if you're following the person, obviously, right, that's what we saw, at what point would that have become a chase or a pursuit?
Well, now we're splitting hairs, because we were going after that car for driving recklessly on the wrong side of the road through a construction site. But the reality of it is that we were so far away from that car that car could have turned any direction and we would have lost it, because we could barely see it. And that does not fit within our confines of pursuit. We were trying to catch up to that car, and we never got caught up to the car until after the collision. Clearly, we were in pursuit of that Jeep Grand Cherokee. We could see the Jeep Grand Cherokee. We could see what color it was. We had officers that were close enough. It went through a number of our stop sticks and was damaged. That is evident of it being abandoned about a mile north of the crash. So that was a pursuit, and we discontinued that pursuit at the crash site.
All right, any last questions?
Yeah, you were talking about the chase policy, but I was kind of wondering, what is the chase policy? I mean, what instigates one? And then at what point do you decide to terminate?
I can make available to you our policy if you like. It's 10 pages long, so that would take me a long time to explain it, but in part, They are authorized to pursue people who are endangering the community with violent crimes, violent felonies, crimes against persons, obviously. They're also allowed to pursue individuals that are driving recklessly, endangering the community, and putting them in high risk, which this situation occurred. And they're also allowed to pursue vehicles that were stolen, given parameters of what they were, the environment and such. Another thing that's important is that we get into a lot of pursuits, and I say a lot, but we get into a number of pursuits in very congested areas where the cars can't go anywhere. This is on Santa Fe, where there were literally no cars on the road. There were 2 or 3 cars that we counted on the road, and you can really get to a high speed. And unfortunately, both of those cars could outrun our cars, and that's essentially what happened.
Any idea how fast you think that car was going?
We suspect at one point we know that the car was at least going 100 miles an hour. Again, additional investigation will help us determine that when we extract the computer boxes out of that car.
All right.
You had one more, and that's it. She got it. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.